Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you? I hope everyone is doing well today. I am Dr. Toni. If you are new to the crew, I welcome you. And if you are returning, I welcome you. I'm so glad that you're here. I am success and satisfaction mentor. I love to come on here and have these conversations with you all because they are part of my mission here, my mission here in life. I get to help men and women leaders to be able to really experience more meaningful success and greater satisfaction in all aspects of their life, be that in parenting, at work, in their relationships with significant others, their family, their friends, because you take you wherever you go in life. And so even if you look like an outward success and certain measures of success that we see and hear about in society, if you're not feeling successful and satisfied within yourself in your life, that's going to show up and it's going to affect your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your relational health in some way, shape, or form. The way in which that looks for each of us is a bit different. But that's what happens. That's the ripple effect. The ripple effect can have positive impact, can have negative impact. We can't get away from that. So I'm really passionate about what I do, and I'm really glad to be here with you all because I've experienced mental health challenges. I've experienced relationship challenges. I've experienced the gamut personally and supported those professionally as well, both in my psychotherapy business as well as in my consulting and mentorship business. So I'm just excited to be here with you all today. And we're going to talk today about 2 ways to get what you want, because the reality is that we all want what we want for a reason. And we all have wants, whether we admit it or not, right? We want what we want for a reason. And generally that reason is because we think that if we get what we want, we will feel better in some way, shape, or form. Right. And so how we go about getting what we want does matter. It does have an impact on the experience that we have in life. So it is April of 2022 as I am recording this and showing up live for you all who are here live with us today. And so about 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago, in June, I got married. I had a DIY wedding, so many stories and lessons to be learned that I could share about that day and that experience and everything leading up to it. But what I want to share today is there was an experience that I had at my wedding. And my sister, who I love and who is an amazing human being, she was my maid of honor, and she gave a beautiful, heartfelt, tear-jerking speech. And there was like this one sentence within it that at that moment, 8 years ago, hit me hard. It hit me. And it was about what was being triggered for me within me. It wasn't about my sister. It was something that just felt like it was like activating something within me. And that sentence went something like, and Toni always gets what she wants. Now, the way that I filter that sentence now and experience it in my life now is very different than the way that I filtered it then, and the way that I was internally triggered from within myself then when I heard that. Because what I heard, those words, when I heard them, they stung. And that wasn't her intention, of course. But it was my own internal triggers. And we all have our own internal activation points. Now, some people don't like the word trigger, that's fine. And so I will use the term trigger or activation interchangeably. But essentially what that means is that inside of us, we are having a reaction. We're having this internal reaction to something we're perceiving from outside of us. And so I had this internal reaction to that sentence, and Toni always gets what she wants. It stung to me. It did not feel like a good thing. It felt like a bad thing. It felt like I was being judged in some way. And again, this has nothing to do with my sister or her intentions. None of that was her intention. This is about me and what came up for me and what was triggered within me, what I felt the activation within. My thoughts were defensive. I didn't say anything or do anything, of course, at the time at my wedding, but my thoughts were immediately reactive. They were immediately defensive because the internal parts of me were interpreting that statement in a cynical way, which happens to me quite often back then, because I was in very much a protective mode, a guarded mode. I need to do everything my sense, super independent mode back then. And so the cynical framework was a filter that I used often, unintentionally, but I did. And so I assumed I was being perceived in this like entitled way, or in this, oh, well, Toni has it easy because she always gets what she wants kind of way. And it wasn't about what she did or didn't like mean. This was about what was coming up within me. And I reacted. I felt an internal reaction that was strong. Like it could not be denied. I felt it. And that's because I had this internal assumption that I was being like negatively categorized or judged in some way. I had my own interpretation of what that statement meant, because I hadn't had it easy in life. And I wanted to make sure that that point was known. It was almost like the parts of me that have had a really hard time, that have experienced trauma and challenge, felt minimized in that moment. And so I was having this internal reaction of, wait, like I earned this. I sacrificed for this really sacrificial mentality that I had, because while I may have been good at making it look like I was all good all the time and I had things all together all the time at that point in my life, I really had already struggled with anxiety, depression, hospitalization, toxic relationships, being judged, betrayal, being mistreated for becoming a single mom, trauma, and so on and so forth. I mean, the list goes on, right? Like none of that was easy. None of that was easy. And the hurt parts of me that I hadn't fully processed at that point in time, they didn't want that pain to be dismissed by others. They really wanted external validation. Those parts of me that were reacting to that statement in such a strong way. However, it was true that I did nearly always kind of get what I want, in that I hit my goals. If I set my mind to something, I achieved it. If I wanted something, I worked hard to go after it and to get it. If I said I'd accomplished something, I'd accomplished it. I had like this 5-year plan of exactly the courses I was going to take, exactly how I was going to do the personal milestones I was going to hit along the way, when this, like all of this stuff. And I did all of it. Boop, 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 boop. Right? My track record didn't lie. I could see why she would say, think, and believe that Toni gets what she wants, because I was a goal setter and a go-getter. And so in that respect, I did I could see how people could see like, oh, she gets what she wants. Because when we can find, we can find a way to get what we want by working really hard, which was the modality that I was functioning under. I will push myself. I will sacrifice. I will prove myself. I will plan the heck out of this. I will set goals, right? Like we can get what we want or accomplish what we want by working really hard, by taking a lot of action, by planning really well, by executing with determination and perseverance, no matter what. We can get stuff done and get what we think we should be doing and accomplishing and all of that stuff. We can check stuff off our list and make it seem like we're getting what we want, right? Through that framework. We can do that. It can lead though to us taking a lot of action. So we feel like we're doing a whole heck of a lot, because, well, we are doing a lot, but it also creates this way of getting stuff done and getting what we want, also creates a feeling of being stuck in the rat race or being stuck on the hamster wheel. It's this never ending, ever evolving cycle of action, 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 go, 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 do, right? it's this constant pressure cooker, this constant pushing. And so it's a life then that becomes devoted to kind of overdoing or overextending or over sacrificing or over proving. And it can still result in getting what we want, so to speak, as far as like measurement of accomplishments is concerned. I'm going to work to hit that goal. I'm going to work to earn that thing. I'm going to work to get that done. But it doesn't wind up feeling nearly as fulfilling as the other way that is available to us to get what we want. Instead, this constant go, constant do, constant prove, constant push, constant sacrifice, constant hustle, constant trailblaze, whatever resonates with you. Instead, that way of doing things, it leaves a lot of brilliant, well-intentioned, gifted people feeling really trapped and confused, unfulfilled, like they have something to prove, like it's never enough, that they always need to go, to do, to work, and to give more. And so maybe they numb themselves, or they feel overwhelmed, or they become robotic in the life that they're living. That's just in cycles and cycles and cycles, right? It's, or some kind of other off feeling that lets them know, like, this is just not working, but I'm going to keep doing it because I'm getting stuff done, still getting what I want, right? And so even though they don't feel, it doesn't feel good sustainably, it doesn't feel good, that leaves them wanting more, no matter how much they get done or get what they want through all of that constant action. Things like shiny object syndrome and imposter syndrome, they thrive when we try to get what we want through this hard action, hard pushing, high pressure kind of framework, right? Which many of us are familiar with, myself included, right? And so if you feel like you're trying so hard or too hard or working too much, or you've given so much and yet it's still not enough, or you're not appreciated, or you're feeling disconnected, or anything along those lines, then you are likely trying to get what you want from this place of what I refer to as force. It's a force-filled place. A lot of action, a lot of pushing, a lot of pressure, a lot of proving, a lot of protecting or guarding or defending, a lot of force, right? And so that's one way that you can get what you want. But as you can see, if you stick with that way of doing and being, then even if you do get what you want, the job, the salary, the position, the relationship, the whatever, you don't really get to thoroughly enjoy it, because there's just always something more to push and sacrifice and prove and go and do and work hard for, right? And so there's this other way that I intentionally and consciously discovered later on, after I got married, and continued to try to do that push and force way that left me feeling trapped and unfulfilled. And I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore, right? And so rather than that force-filled framework, that overdoing, overanalyzing, overworking, overly pushing, overgiving, overnumbing, overwhelming, right? Rather than that, we can get what we want by doing what almost seems like the opposite. It seems, if you're anything like where I was in my peak addicted to action phase, then this is probably going to seem like counterproductive to you. If you've been along the self-development journey for a while, then this may resonate for you. You may feel less resistance to it, but you'll still find nuggets and nuances in here that you'll benefit from, because this work is continuously ongoing, right? I've been doing self-development work for eons, what feels like eons at this point, and there's always something more for me to learn and grow in, even if I'm revisiting something that I have already learned and grown and developed in, right? And so in simple terms, the other way to get what we want is what I would, in brief, call surrender. Faith and surrender. But we can just stick with surrender. And I know that for many, that may sound a bit crazy. It may sound a bit like, okay, whatever, roll the eyes. I'll have time for that. I got stuff to do. Got stuff to do. Surrender sounds like lazy, and I can't be lazy. I do not have time for that. Or surrender is freaking scary because that means trust. And I have learned that I can't trust. Either I can't trust myself or I can't trust others. Or I can't trust the world. Surrender is BS. Because I will tell you that surrender felt like BS to me previously. It felt unsafe. It felt unreliable. It felt like, what's the point? Because I got stuff to get done. Right. But by surrender, I don't mean like a giving up or a doing nothing as a whole. This is a different flavor, a different type, a different kind, different depth to surrender that I'm talking about here. I had to surrender big time over and over and over again. And I know it feels like surrender doesn't make sense, Toni. You're talking about getting what we want. So if we just surrender, how is that helping us get what we want? I'm not saying to surrender your desires. I'm not saying to surrender wanting what you want. But what I am saying is what I have had to surrender and have supported others to walk through and surrender as well with great success and benefits, is the need to constantly take action, the need to achieve, the addiction to overdoing, to overanalyzing, to over. Surrendering that, releasing that. And that takes retraining the brain, the body, the nervous system, the whole being, because we become addicted to being that way, to living that way. I had become addicted to living that way. It took me years to more deeply retrain my brain, body, soul, system, nervous system, all of it into deeper and deeper surrender. And over time, with this surrender came a deep level of acceptance. And it doesn't matter if we look into the science or the soul of it, acceptance is required. A deep level of acceptance is required if you want to feel more meaningfully successful and more greatly satisfied in your life on a sustainable basis. So with surrender comes this deep level of acceptance. With this deep level of acceptance comes the surrender. That we, you cannot control everything. We can't account for every variable, and therefore we cannot plan out, predict, compensate for, fix, figure out, be responsible for everything or everyone, no matter how hard we try, no matter how much we push. And that is okay. It is meant to be that way. I myself would not want to be controlled by someone or something else. So why would it be okay for me to have control of everyone or everything else? It's not. It's not intended to be that way. And so we have to come to a sense of surrender over not being able to control all of that, which greatly reduces the pressure to overwork, to overdo, to overprove, to overanalyze, to over. That in and of itself greatly reduces that pressure and that force, that need for force and push. And with this acceptance, there's a deeper level of acceptance of myself, of who I am, of how I want to be in this world, of what I can control, of what I want to control, of what I can influence, of what I want to influence, of how I want to influence. And that indeed I had nothing left to prove to anyone. I have nothing to prove to anyone. I don't need to prove my worth, my success. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I don't need to prove anything about anything. I have no need to overdo or force anything or anyone. And I accept that. I did not accept that previously for the first couple decades of my life. But now I have a deeper level of acceptance of that. And as I learned how to do that, my life experience changed. What I realized is that I was starting to get what I wanted with significantly less effort and significantly more ease. Money, deeper connection in relationships, opportunities, in abundance, and sometimes miraculous ways that I didn't even expect that it would come to me. I didn't have to force myself in order to get what I want, or overdo or over push myself to get what I want. I could learn what I want. I could even change what I want. That would be okay too. And I could accept that along the way, there's a bunch of people and things and stuff and events that I cannot account for, I cannot control, I cannot be responsible for, I cannot figure it all out. And that is okay. And so I'm going to turn to myself. I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to look at, what do I want? Why do I want it? Who and how am I going to be as I show up along this journey as I move towards it? Being open to it changing, being open to whatever avenue or form it takes to unveil itself to me. Even my new book and an amazing press release that came along with it, and bestseller status on Amazon for my book, it unfolded with more ease. I did not have to overpush myself to experience that. It felt more fulfilling, more meaningful, and I didn't feel trapped in my life anymore. Each time I circled back around to deepening this sense of surrender and loosening this sense of force. Again, you can get to what you want eventually in some way, shape, or form through either modality, through either framework. But in one, people are left with feeling trapped or unfulfilled or devoid or just not as connected, not as free, life is not as enjoyable. In the other, there is more of that sense of freedom and ease and fulfillment. Doesn't mean that there aren't challenges along the way for both of them, because there are. We learn and we grow through challenges. That is a necessary part of life. But the getting what we want can still come with more ease. And I know it can sound almost too simple. I'm telling you, if I was talking to myself, say like, I don't know, 10 to 15 years ago, I would honestly probably roll my eyes at this video. So wherever you're at along your journey, cool. That's fine. We don't need to make that right or wrong. It just is what it is. But if you're still listening to this, some part of this is resonating for you, with you, through you, because you want to be able to get more and more and more of what you want, and you want to be able to experience that with more and more ease, freedom, fulfillment, right? Like what I teach in the Reset book, hanging out back there. It is hard for us humans to let go of our tendencies to do life in a certain way, especially because this sounds a little bit too simple. We want to think that it's supposed to be easy, but simple and easy are not the same. There are many things like principles, foundations in life that I can distill down for you in this simplistic way, paint this more simple picture, but the application, integration, and embodying of it, it's not easy. It's not easy. I had to unlearn and rewire old beliefs and behaviors that I had going on for most of my life in order to even get to this point where I'm at, or the point that I got to 3 years ago, or the point that I got to 6 years ago. It's constant learning and growing. But if you're enjoying the journey along the way more and more, if you're getting what you want with more and more ease, then it becomes okay. There's a deeper level of acceptance that I'm always learning, always growing, always evolving, that inner self work, that development work within ourselves is never done. That's okay, becomes okay if it doesn't constantly have to be forced and hard all of the time. If you've ever tried to change an old habit, you know that it's not super quick and easy to do, even if the steps are simple, right? Think of any like common habits that many people want to change, like dietary habits for someone that wants to lose weight, health habits for someone that's smoking and wants to quit, right? Like we could write the steps down of how to do that in a very simplistic form, X, Y, Z. But the integration, the application, the embodying of that in your life, whole different story, whole different story, right? I may have gotten what I wanted with more ease, but I had to be okay that I wasn't always going to be able to control or predict the how of how those things came to me, or even the when, the exact details of the when and the how. I had to surrender to needing to control that, because that was a forceful framework, which I could push, I could push, I could push, I could sacrifice, I could, right? But it just ultimately didn't feel good, didn't feel as meaningful as it does now, right? There are some things, many things actually in life, that we cannot predict or pre-plan. And if we think that we need to or should or have to, then we'll always be from that functioning from that forceful place, denying the part of the surrender that we really need to welcome and embrace more. Again, it's not surrender of I'm just giving up and I'm just going to lay here and just expect everything to come to me that I want. It's not what we're talking about. I'm not talking about a lackadaisical or giving up or passive kind of thing. But we are talking about not needing to plan out everything or prove or push hard all of the time, not needing to know it all, because you can't. Not needing to control for all the variables or the exact how or the exact when of everything all of the time, because you can't. None of us can. Had I clung to needing to figure out the exact how, then I would have easily missed out on allowing some of the things I already mentioned to happen and much more entering my life, being experienced by me in such a creative, unexpected, and more ease-filled way, because I just couldn't have predicted all of the ways that some of these have come to me. I couldn't have predicted the way in which I got connected with my publisher. I couldn't have planned that out. And had I set myself on a mission to find the perfect publisher at this specific time, I probably would have missed this connection with this person, because the way that it happened was just with such ease and flow. I may have gotten what I wanted eventually, but it wouldn't have happened with nearly as much ease or meaning or thoughtfulness or intention or enjoyment. The more ease-filled way of getting what you want, it does take time and it does take intention to learn, to deepen, to practice, to embody, to integrate. But it means more meaningful success and greater life and relationship satisfaction overall. So isn't that worth it? Isn't that worth it? Isn't that the experience of life that we're all here to have anyway? I can't answer that question for you, but for me, it was worth it. And I'm still not done. I'll never be done. I'll always be learning and growing and deepening my levels of surrender and acceptance and faith. That's what my hard work is nowadays. Now, there are 3 important things that I want to leave you with, that I want to note about this different way of getting what you want, because if you're anything like the way that I was, then these may come up for you. So 1, what you think you want now, just be open to it changing, because it probably is going to change or evolve in some meaningful way over time. And that's actually a good thing, because as you experience life and as you surrender a little bit more, more information and more experiences are going to come to you. That's actually going to help clarify what you want and why you want it. And that's a really good thing. We want to clarify that. Number 2, getting what you want in this way, it takes less action, but it's not free, like devoid of any action at all. Like I said, this isn't about being lazy. Instead, it's about taking, or lazy in a negative in a negative way. If you have a positive relationship with lazy, then that's fine. Instead, it's about taking more targeted, inspired action. So you're taking more precise and meaningful action, and therefore less action overall, because it's not just action, 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 action. It's, oh, this is the action. I have clarity. This is the way I'm going to go. This is the things fall into place and they're more clear. And so that allows space for more enriching and rejuvenating experiences within those other gaps of your life that aren't being constantly filled by action, doing, proving, going, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And 3, when you get what you want with more of this surrender, faith, acceptance framework, it does not take away from anyone else. It's not like, oh, if I get what I want and someone else wants it, then I'm taking away from them. And it's not that at all. This is not a trading game of, if I get this, then they just have to get that or settle for that. That's not how this works. Okay. And so if you truly embody, embrace, integrate this sense of surrender, acceptance, and faith in this deeper way that I'm talking about, it actually allows for more things to fall in place for you in a way that works for you, as well as for the other moving parts in your life and the lives of others. So that may or may not make sense for you right now, and that's okay. If you really want to dive deeper into this, you're welcome to reach out to me at hello, HELLO, at drtonicoaches.com, DRTONI coaches.com. You can email me and you can let me know. I can connect you with any of my resources. You could just visit my website, where I have both free and paid resources depending on what you need, what you're looking for. And that's boldandbalancecoaching.com. You can check that out and see what resources will help you to go deeper here. All right. So if you're confused by any of this, that's okay. Like I said, there was definitely a part of my journey when I would have been not even paying attention to this, cynical about this, and then definitely like confused about it. It is a process. It is a journey for each and every one of us. And that is the way it's supposed to be. Now, if this is hitting you loud and clear, it's resonating with you, you're like, yes, this, oh, that's the area that I want to go deeper in right there. That's also beautiful. So let this fall for you and land wherever it's falling for you and landing, and let that be okay. Practice surrender and acceptance that you are getting what you need right now in this moment from this. And you might come back and listen to it again in the future, and then you'll get a different nugget or a different nuance that you need at that time. All right. So pay attention to what you're thinking, what your reaction is, what your thoughts are around this whole conversation, and know that you can get what you want. What you want may change and evolve over time. All of that is okay. There are different ways. There's 2 different ways, generally speaking, to get what you want. And you get to choose in any given moment which way you're going to be working from, which framework you're going to be working from. All right. But if I were to guess, I'd say that you probably in your heart of hearts know that you would prefer one over the other. I know I definitely prefer the more ease. So I'm going to go with the surrender and the acceptance and the faith, deeper and deeper practice as I continue out my days here. And I'm happy to support you if that's something that you want to learn how to practice in a deeper and deeper way. If you want to stay connected, you can also join us over in our Facebook community. It's free. It's for men and women that really care about meaningful success and greater life satisfaction. It's called Life's Reset Button. And if you know you want to explore how to do this, but kind of do it on your own, you can check out the Reset. It is a high achiever's guide to freedom and fulfillment. And you can find